It is 6 o'clock. We will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Tanya. Here. Tom.
Here.
Jeremiah.
Here.
I'm writing fast. Lee. Here. Lori. Here. Chuck.
Here.
And Linda is here. Before we adopt our agenda, I would like to add an item, which will be number H7. It will be discussion of the superintendent contract. H7, discussion of superintendent contract. Then I need a motion to accept our agenda.
I move to accept the agenda.
Tom. I'll second. Lori. Was it Lori or Lisa? I missed it. Lori? Okay. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, if I could, at your station is actually a corrected, amended, although there isn't a whole lot of difference relative to the ideal construction quote. I had written that it was in fact 67.5 for that quote, and that's what the amount that we had worked with in the Buildings and Grounds Committee. Mm-hmm. And then I think that was an older estimate that you had received in the packet dated in June, and of course this is an updated copy or an updated quote dated October, which basically includes the on as part of the quote. So anyway, the one in June didn't have the striping, but you could add it, and this just clarifies that. And I'd still recommend that.
Okay.
67.
Sounds good.
There you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Any further discussion on that? On the agenda? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The consent agenda. Anybody have anything that they want to pull off of that? Talk about outside?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would like to pull a check out of that voucher 7702, please.
Gotcha. We should talk about that as soon as we're out of the consent agenda. Okay. Any other things, questions, comments about the consent agenda? And we'll need a motion. Chuck made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Lori? Any further discussion on the consent agenda with that one item pulled off?
Has there been any interest in the purchase of the surplus equipment?
Not externally.
Okay.
Internally, as soon as that went out, we had some interest in transitioning some of that over to high school.
Okay,
for some
fine.
usage there. So it may not be 170. You know,
Okay.
it may be a little less because I think we have some interest in grabbing.
Some use for it somewhere else.
Say that again.
That'd be good if we can get some use out of it somewhere else.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, anything further on the consent? I'm gonna call for a motion or a vote on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Our reports, and we have a little one out there. We don't have a youngster out there, okay? Guests, I have one. Mitchell, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mitch Johnson. I am the Vice President of the Long Prairie Baseball Association. And what I'm here tonight to talk to you about is, is the possibility of liquor sales for our Long Prairie Predators baseball team. So just to put in context, we are getting our town team back, which is great, right? We have adults that are interested in playing baseball again. It's been a couple years since we've had a team. And what we do is we utilize the varsity field to do so. That gives us a place to play. We can get a decent crowd. One of the problems is with town team baseball is revenue, okay? As a baseball association, we try and make some revenue, but to pay for umpires and do those different things is costly. Baseball's just a costly sport in general. So with adding something like a liquor sale to the games, that would generate revenue for us to help pay for umpires. Umpires range in anywhere from $250 to $300 a time, and we need to provide one every time that we have in the field. A lot of times we have to provide two. So it just helps us with offset our costs. This is very universal throughout town teams that use high school fields. Other towns that do it would be like Swanville, Uppsala. Those are local towns that I know that do it. I just want to see if there's any interest in it, if it's an all possibility. One thing we would do is we'd write up on our half, we'd write up a bonding contract that would basically leave the school with no liability. The alcohol would be, again, we're basically just talking about, right, like beer sales is all we're talking about. We would apply for our own liquor license. Then after the games, it would be removed. During the games, it would be there. And the contract would basically state that, hey, we're going to be responsible for everything. We're going to be responsible for all sales, all, liability, all those type of things. I just wanted to make the board aware and see what kind of your response was, if this is something you're interested in, or if you want to at least look at the contract to see if it's something you're interested in. Again, it's just something that just kind of goes hand in hand with town team. It is a revenue generator for us. It kind of offsets the balance for us a little bit because it is costly to have an adult team, uniforms, all those different things. And we do some fundraising stuff, but in the end, most of our fundraising for the items that we do are meant for our youth groups and our high school age kids. So that's what I'm here tonight, just to discuss, just to give you a chance to open up and ask any questions. I'll do my best to answer them. But I wanted to come here in just a general discussion, not with like, here's a contract, hey, would you sign this? I want to just get in front of you first, see what the response was, and then go from there, and we'll go accordingly. So if there's questions, go ahead.
How many home games are you thinking?
So with the league we play in is the Resorters League. It really depends on your schedule. We make our own schedule. We have to play a certain number of league games, which is anywhere from 10 to 15 games in league. Usually about 7-8 home games roughly is what we'll be looking at. They're usually on Sundays at 1 o'clock. Nothing will be during the week. It's usually a summertime thing. Our season does start at the end of April. I think it's like the second week in May, end of April, somewhere in there is when it starts. It just all depends on, weather, just like anything else does in the spring. So that's about what we're looking at. Runs through about July, and then our season's over. And obviously we'd remove all, items every time. My thought process, or our thought process is right now, we would, bring the items with us. As soon as it's over, we do all our own cleanup, all our own things, and then remove the items, and then just bring them back and forth in accordance. So, yes, go ahead.
Do you get the liquor license approved by the city?
We will. Yeah, we'll have to actually get it approved by the county.
Is that,
What's that?
would that happen? Is that a slam dunk if you apply?
We'll have to apply for it. It'll be a temporary liquor license. It will not be a and we just have to make sure we go through the process to make sure that we're doing the legal things correctly too. That was one of the things that I did in as part of our association. We've talked to a legal team to say, is this something that is doable and is done? And then they were the ones that pointed us to, yes, these are individuals that have done it. And I don't know if we need what type of license we need in general right now. We're just I want to get it out there so you're aware of it, and then we'll deal with what we need to deal with on our side, if that makes sense. Because there's no sense in going forward with anything else unless you guys are really okay with it, if that makes sense. So.
And I heard you say liability.
Yep.
You have to clear with school insurance.
So we carry.
Yeah. So we would have to do our own.
Correct. So we would carry our own insurance, and the way it would be written up is we would take all liability of any, type of incidents, anything like that, if they occurred, so.
Now, when you say you bring your own materials to and from, are you talking an individual or two large containers or smaller containers? That way?
So it'd be cans, right? That's what we'd have. We'd support our local, establishment, buy them from them, and then, then go from there on the resale. So.
What is your attendance like, or what kind of,
Crowd do we get? So a lot of times it's like, how do I put this? So it's younger adults. So it'd be like their parents, aunts, uncles. The town team, portion of it is a mostly adult attendance. There is a few children that come, but usually it's adults. It's usually a pretty fun atmosphere, if that makes sense. We'll have concessions, hopefully adult beverages, that type of things. The are usually on Sundays. It's kind of a nice relaxing. Hopefully the summers will be nice to do those things.
would you have a separate concession stand then away from like?
We could, if that's what the school would request. That's something definitely that would be doable. Otherwise, we tend to use the concession stand that's down there. And just advertise it and then obviously remove it, after the contest is over. So.
And the aluminum that would come with it, you take that one?
We would take that. We'd get rid of all that. Yep. Yeah, we'd make sure there was basically no evidence left, of anything going on. We'd clean up before and after the games anyway. So that'd be something we'd do prior. And so.
In the past, has it been a rental fee that the Predators pay to the school for use of the field? Or
So the town teams really kind of come and go. So it's been unfortunate that happens. I don't think there's ever anything that's really even been set up as far as contractual based, as far as like renting the field or any type of that type of thing. The one thing I will say, just as an association, we've donated a lot of money to the field already, just like so understand where you're coming from. But that's usually something like, just for instance, we redid. What did we do last summer? Oh, we added the turf last summer out there. That's like $5,000. So we're constantly trying to upkeep and improve the field mainly for the kids, right? Is what we're looking for right now is, because we haven't had a town team, so.
I think we've gone on a good neighbor policy with baseball.
Okay.
Well, and that's fine. I was just curious.
Yep, absolutely. And if you would like, just a better contractual, obligation, we can definitely look into that, even if, it's very minute or something like that. I don't think a contract is a bad thing by any means, just so everybody understands what everyone's okay with and aware of.
You haven't been here, Mr. Froh, but you have any idea, maybe Kelsey, you would, Brad, with the mowing and all that stuff, is the field ready for them to play on Sundays? I would assume it would because Babe Ruth is out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the fields, just speaking on the summertime terms, because the Babe Ruth and the Legion play on there, the staff does a very good job of keeping it ready and everything else. So, not every day is it gonna be mowed fresh, right? The custodial staff have their hands full. So they can only do what they can and, what it's like. We also, in the summertime, for as far as field prep, like the town team would be responsible for field prep, making sure it's maintained, and then after they're done, making sure it's just how they left it. So, because baseball is you need to maintain it pretty heavily, otherwise it doesn't.
Line the fields.
Yeah, we'll line the fields. We'll do all of those different types of things. We've provided paint and chalk in the past. We kind of work hand in hand with Kelsey to make sure that everything's kind of well taken care of. So.
Do you have a team already formed? Is it?
We do have a team already
enough
formed. Yes,
already?
we do have enough players. We do have enough players. We're in a good spot. We have roughly about 15 guys signed up to play. The first couple years tend to be a little rougher as far as to finding a nucleus that wants to play on a day-to-day basis. But I do think that with the group that is there, I think there's a good possibility of it sticking around for years. So.
Sounds like fun.
All right.
It does.
So.
Do we need a motion on that?
Let's see what
Would you like would you like me to come back to the board or give a contract to the superintendent for him to look over? What would you like? I guess is what I'm asking.
Always good to check with the insurance company too and.
Okay.
So
So I will bring it into the school
If he thinks we need to see it, we can do it next board meeting if that's not
Okay.
close enough for you.
Yeah, no, this is why I'm here in March. You've got time to decide. I didn't want to put this on you last minute and say, hey, we're having a game next week. I need to know, right? So this will give you some time to look over it, send it off to the appropriate people, and from there, just let us know, and I'll be in contact, so.
Gotcha.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you guys for your time, appreciate it.
That was it for speakers. Program reports, activities report. Anybody have a question for Kelsey? Did we hear anything about the high school league yet?
No, not yet, sometime this week. If I had to guess, it would be Friday at 3:30.
Sounds good to me, sure, okay. Community ed? Did you hear anything yet from the 21st century?
It's due Wednesday. We're hoping to send it in tomorrow. It's been a process.
I'm sure.
It's read 100+ pages and we're still going. And then they changed the format this year. They didn't tell us that, so a lot of the stuff that was prepared for had to be changed. Put it up to nice one. It's pretty much done. It just so we had to beautify it a little bit so much so with that.
Is the brochure ready to go to print?
Yep, it's being printed as we speak.
Woo-hoo, nice job. Anything else for community ed in the 21st century and all that? Alrighty, technology. Questions for Mitchell? You're going to be working hard this summer, are you?
Of course. As usual.
As usual.
The network class will be cool, right?
It is right now, it's 68 degrees, it's very nice in there.
Very good. Principals. Come on, we can't let them get by this easy. Tammy, did you figure out graduation dates?
Not until after tonight.
Okay, gotcha, that's right. Anybody a question for them? Shout outs go to Ms. Hanson. Shout outs go to the band for their contests, and I think choir is taking them. This contest this week, Mr. Martin.
The choir is this week.
Choir,
That was last week.
gotcha, so I'm sure it'll be kudos to them too.
Band received all superiors from all 3 judges, all of their score, I think it's out of 40, I think they got like a 39.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you should have some notes in front of you. I left that with you right now. So.
Are things kind of back to normal after the mishaps of last week, Tuesday, funeral and all that stuff?
We're plugging away and going forward. So.
I know some kids were pretty mixed up.
Yeah, Jonathan and Nate are working on some things on their end. So we're still dealing with some of that. So we will be for several future.
Yep, I hear you. Thank you for helping them kids out. Okay, board members. Nobody went to trainings or workshops or?
Next one.
Next one. Okay, superintendent report.
Sure, the enrollment, in terms of, over the month of February, or excuse me, the month of February, then we lost 6 kids. So we're sitting now at 962, and again, that's kids in seats. Again, just when we compare ourselves to a 982 budgeted number, which is in the packet for you as well as part of the revision process. I think we're gonna be pretty close to that number, and that's why we opted to stay there. Even at 962, the district is going to have some extended time and some early childhood ADMs that will come in on the back end after school is over. So, at any rate, so that number then sits, as of March 1st at 962. As we talk about, year over year, that 962 number represents, again, it's year over year, a decrease of 4 students. So again, you can kind of see it's been staying pretty stable. And when we looked at a year ago, that number was 966, and district wound up with an ADM of 999. So you can kind of see what happens with extended time and early childhood in the back end. It's really impactful. So we'll continue to see. Like I say, I don't think it'll be as high as the fiscal 24 number, but I think we'll be. I'm very optimistic about getting into that budgeted number of 982. Along with that, then I showed the numbers from where we started the school year. That was in your packet as well, as compared to the March 1 enrollment. The February forecast that we talked about last month obviously came through on Thursday, March 6th, and we learned a little bit about the state's forecast and where the budget for the next 2 years would be, which is important as we're making plans fiscally for the next, not only next year, 25, 26, but the following year, 26, 27. That came in then, that budget period for the state shows a forecast, and again, you're looking out to June 30th, 2027 of a surplus of about $460 million. That might seem like a lot of money. In 15 years ago, it was okay. Right now, when the state's budget is well over $50 billion a year, it really isn't a whole lot. And so, in other words, it basically provides a couple different things for the state or the legislature to do in building their budget. So what would that be? Couple things. One, and they're both things of importance to us. One would be the compensatory revenue formula. It's a basic skills revenue that we receive every year based on the number of children receiving free or reduced price lunches. So what happens in that regard is that the formula was on that revenue stream was changed 2 years ago. And as such, then it has a significant impact on us, and not in a positive way. So what we're hoping for is that the legislature will take some of that surplus and allocate it toward the governor's budget proposal, which basically puts in a hold harmless, meaning everybody would be held equal until they can figure out how they want to process that revenue stream. Unfortunately, a hold harmless for us still means about a $160,000 deficit that we'll have to address potentially as early as next month. Okay, so that would be one of the issues that the state surplus would be spent on. And again, those dollars wouldn't flow to us. The second would be the unemployment insurance pool or pot that was created 2 years ago on about $135 million to provide unemployment for those staff who are not employed during the summer. They thought at the time that would be sufficient. What we know after 2 summers of implementation is that there remains about $35 million left in that pot. So that tells you, if you do the math, then that they've used a significant part of that pot. So they'll have to replenish it or put it on the levy, the tax levy, or discontinue the program. The thought would be then naturally that they'll throw some of that surplus into that unemployment insurance pot. So again, a couple things to look at. So that's what that's what the forecast showed us on March 6th. The second thing was that included in that surplus was a 2.74% increase to the per student formula. So we know that will be a minimum, and I would guess that will be what we will get in light of the fact that there just isn't a whole lot of a surplus there. The other part of that would be the second year, and they're talking of just over 3%. So it's really unique in that we're not having to wait until May, late May or June to find out historically what we're going to get for the ensuing year. We have a good idea at a minimum right now. So if the budget were to be passed and in a timely fashion, and you know, in light of everything, I kind of think they'll be done in the 20th of May. You know, so anyway, so that's your financial picture looks clearer from a perspective of receiving allocations and appropriations from the legislature. So anyway, so that is what I have at this particular point in time. Did have capital projects out there, but I put that in there with the idea that I was hoping we'd get buildings and grounds, and our calendars just never mesh. So I want to respect that process, and we'll talk about that capital projects next month.
Good. Wonderful. Okay, then, any board highlights, Tom? Okay, I did see one thing I forgot, Mr. Barton, blood drive, that went really good, I think.
Yeah, they met their goal, 52 units. That qualifies the kids. Now they boosted it up went from $1,000 to $1,500 scholarship.
Good.
So somebody's gonna get a $1,500 scholarship, and how they divide that up, or if it's gonna be one whole, they have to decide that yet, but it's gonna be up to 2,000 most likely next year.
Very good, very, very good. And nothing else? Nope. All right, unfinished business, Mr. Pro.
None.
None, woo-hoo. New business, we start off with donations. Magnified Financial gave $50 to the web crew. American Legion Post 12 gave $100 to the web crew. Breidenfeld Group gave $50 to the web crew. Shields gave a $50 gift card to the web crew. Guns Galore gave a $25 gift card to the web crew. Janelle Johnson, Julie McKenzie, Chip Hortness, and Steve Hortness gave $250 to the Stan Hortness Memorial. I assume that's a scholarship. Fleet Supply of Long Prairie gave $50 to Post Prom. Magnify gave $250 to Post Prom. Breidenfeld gave $50 to Post Prom. Long Prairie Healthcare Center gave $100 to Post Prom. Long Prairie Rotary Club gave $225 to Post Prom. Felling Trailers gave $100 to Post Prom. The Budget Inn gave $3,000 to the high school activity account. Neville Hardware, and that should be, can you fix that? That is in Gray Eagle, not Swanville. Oh, okay. Neville Hardware is Swanville, gave Gray Eagle is $200 to Arc Electric Service gave $100 to Post Prom. Power for You gave $419.37 to the Letter Club. I would need a motion. Motion. Raise your hand. Who did it? Lori? Okay, Lori, motion. I need a second.
1 second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no, and not in favor say no. Motion carries. All right, we have approved the revised 24-25 school year calendar. Mr. Cook, do you want to give us a few incidentals?
A few incidentals, sure, thank you, and we're asking tonight for a little latitude from the board to continue our development in light of the HVAC project and the work schedule that's been given to us relative to that the summer work, as we look at that schedule, starting right now without any action on this particular calendar proposal, there would be a work schedule for our people of June 2nd through August 22nd, which would basically leave a week for the custodial staff over at the high school to complete the work in preparation for the school year. So basically what happened was we had wondered about if we could adjust the start of school or potentially the end, and if that would make a difference, and the contractor said absolutely. And quite honestly, you know, I mean, with all the, you know, the instability around materials and those kinds of things, the idea was then to look at both options. We talked about potentially starting on the 8th of September, and for various reasons that really didn't grab on, or we really didn't like that idea. So we talked about potentially what might be less invasive would be we could end the school year a week earlier, and then as such, then contractors can mobilize right after Memorial Day. So what that basically would mean would be then the flip of Friday, May 23rd, excuse me, to a student day in lieu of a professional development day, and then move that professional development day to, May 23rd then would be the last kid day. And then move the professional development day to May 27th, and then the remaining 28th, 29th, and 30th would be the remaining contract days for staff.
And you get 1 day for the redact, I believe.
1 day for the redact, correct. Another day for potential moving and cleaning out and grades. And then, again, this is where we're asking for a little latitude if we could have some time here to plan out what we can do with the 29th and 30th, and then the staff will be done on the 30th of May.
How will that work, like, cause I know the band and choir was going that last week on their overnight trip. How would they still go those same days, and like, I think the 7th and 8th graders are going to Valley Fair that last week? Will that be changed then,
Is that the week of the 27th?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was like,
so I don't know that any of that would change.
okay,
Of
so
course,
they'd still stay that, I'm just thinking, you know, like Valley Fair, especially with kids, that busing might be hard for a lot of them
Valley
to
Fair
come
trip
in.
is looking at being rescheduled. I'm
Okay.
emailing with Engelhart right now just to figure out what day of May is less activity
Okay.
based, because they won't get back till about 8, so that's being discussed and being adjusted right now.
Okay,
to do the physics and things like that. Yeah. So that's the recommendation, and of course, graduation remains the same, obviously, we didn't want to touch that with all the planning going on and that kind of thing, but you got school done and graduation done on the same day, which is nice.
Do you need a motion to do that, or, okay, then I would have a motion. Anybody care?
I move to accept the changes to the
I'll
contract.
second that.
Jeremiah? Is there any further discussion, questions? Any further discussion, questions? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
We respect your decision here until we'll be in contact with you regarding what the plan is for those other 2 days. So thank you.
Yep. Okay, the Harmony Park, that is this one, right? That you added
Correct. Should have it
striking for.
Should have the October 13th date.
Any further knowledge we need for that, or can we just do a motion and get it done?
Yeah, I didn't know if the members of the Buildings and Grounds had any input or anything of that nature regarding the discussion. We spent some time on it.
Yes, my only thing was addressed here with the estimate that we had placed at our spots with the 67.5 with the 2,000 additional for striping, and my understanding is this is all covered with bond money that we had left over from the original parking lot, so I would move to accept this bid from Ideal.
Okay, Tom made the motion,
I'll second it.
Jeremiah second. Do we have any further discussion or questions? Any further discussion or questions? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we're looking at elementary cooler door replacement. Any words of wisdom, Mr. Copeland?
In terms of this particular project, it was identified when we were doing the walk around and during the course of, the new board member orientation. Yeah, it's probably seen its day, and so buildings and grounds, again, I would defer to them if they wanted to talk about this. We looked at the quotes and that kind of thing, secured them. And defer to them if they wanted to add any Nate's refrigeration or Flintstone refrigeration appears to be a little better.
It's been identified as a problem in the past.
Has it?
I guess if Chuck and Tom are both on board, we must really need to switch it out.
It needs to be switched. It's been there, I believe, since maybe they built the school around it, I'm not sure. It's been there a long time.
Yes, I did. So is there any more comments we'd like from the crew?
Again, your reserves and food service are very healthy, and so for $3,800.
That's routine maintenance kind of things we just have to do. So I need a
I'll make
motion.
a motion to
Lori?
accept it.
I'll second it,
Um,
and that would be the bid from Nathy Construction.
Gotcha. Any further discussion or questions? Further discussion or questions? Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, all those pages and pages of policies,
400's a big series.
for sure, and we're not done with it, right?
No.
Interesting ones to read with the bullying a little bit and the harassment stuff. Anybody want to talk about any of them? Hold them off.
A lot of what I looked at, I felt was kind of state mandated or state statute that where you have to follow, so I move to approve.
Okay. Tom made the motion to approve. Chuck second. Any further discussions? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now, Mr. Cole. Revise, we did that one. Approve the fiscal 25 school district budget.
Yeah, sure. Typical, we try and it's very common in districts too, usually around March or April, and we take a look at our budget position, and especially after we've gotten a good look at staff. We're starting to see trends where other expenses of the operation are concerned, and take a look at that, see how that's impacted. We obviously, we know where the per pupil formula is, we have an idea of where kid counts are coming in, and obviously we've got our contracts in place from an employee perspective. So those are three big drivers that we talk about consistently where crafting and budget development is concerned. So all of those things are in place, and we continue to look at those things in terms of what changes it may have had, those things may have had on the original budget that was adopted in June or back in June. So obviously you can see then that there have been some changes, Those were included in your packet in terms of the budget differences, both on the revenue side and on the expenditure side. So anyway, that's before you, and it basically shows that if you were to combine the two together, then particularly the issue is general fund. The general fund being Fund 1, which is all of the consumables from salaries to supplies. Basically the one that handles the day-to-day operations. We anticipate having about a $200,000 deficit at year end. Obviously you have the opportunity with your reserves to manage that. And so, but we'll want to look forward and those things going forward at the into 25, 26. Fund 2 would be food service. Anticipating about right now today, if the fiscal year would end today, about a $30,000 surplus. It's kind of why we put the numbers on occasion during my report. Kind of take a look at the participation numbers. The district runs $1 million food service operation, and we need to monitor that. And so, obviously, it looks like revenues will exceed expenditures because of the positive participation that we've seen throughout the year. And that'll be about in the neighborhood, if like I said, if it were to end today, it'll be about $30,000 that would go into reserve. So that's a good thing relative to Fund 2. Community service, again, showing about, we have some staff that are coded there we have some staff coded there relative to preschool and other pathway operations, which you can do. Districts sometimes run those staff back and forth between Fund 1 and Fund 2. Right now, it looks like there'll be a transfer at year end that the auditors will make. So as you look then, that'll be an additional allocation taken from Fund 1 to balance out Fund 4, which is common. It's common in districts, and you're going to be in that boat when the audit time comes. So anyway, the other thing that skews the numbers here is obviously you have a lot of good, solid projects going on that are going to benefit the district significantly. So what I mean when I tell you that the numbers are skewed is because particularly as you talk about the phase 2 of the HVAC project, those dollars, when you look at this budget revision, you're looking at a window of 12 months. Well, okay, the part of the expenses will come in this current year. The revenue that you're using to finance the project were booked in another fiscal year. So those numbers aren't there, which makes your expenses, it inflates the expenditure side of the budget. So that's kind of how that, you kind of have to look at how, keep those factors in mind, especially when you look at all funds, when you compare a revised expenditure budget for all funds of 22 million and a revenue budget of 20, just short of, $20 million. You can see that's the project expenses that are making the large part of the difference there. So that's always the hard thing to remember is that this is a 12-month look into what we're doing, and projects skew that. So, but anyway, again, that's where Sherry's work comes into play too, because she'll sit with the auditors and they'll have to make a decision on how many expenses are charged out to this current fiscal year in June 30th and how many are going to be charged to next year because the work was done after July 1. So all of these things are in play until the projects are done. And that's just the way our work is. And so anyway, so and the other thing that Sherry did a lot of work to get this to you tonight, and she did a lot of nice work, and so our thanks to her, and it's a continual learning process all the time. So that's what I have at this point.
And I believe we need a motion to approve.
That would be correct.
I need a motion. Tanya? Second? Chuck? Any further questions on the budget for next year? right? Next year's, or the end of this year. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last thing on the agenda is,
Chuck's bill.
thank you. You pulled an item off the consent agenda.
No.
We need to talk about it, yes, no?
I wanna look at it for some, charges. I discussed this with Mr. Flo.
Okay.
Some charges I think that we shouldn't be responsible for.
Okay.
I'm gonna direct the business office to have them re-invoice that.
Okay, then you're gonna take care of that outside the meeting tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Then we're ready to talk about the last item on the agenda, which is discussion of the superintendent contract. I believe I'm going to defer that to the negotiations team.
Well, as I know everybody's been waiting for this, and I'm sorry it's taken so long. Yeah, it's unprecedented, as you know. It's never happened before. We've had two superintendents on, so we've had a lot of legal work to do and a lot of running around to do. But anyway, I have two contracts here that are signed. And one contract is an existing contract, which it's an amendment to the existing contract, which I won't say this. It'll coordinate duties between the two superintendents that we have right now. And the other one is an extension of, basically an extension of Mr. Ludvigson's present contract for a one-year term. It's little changed from the one he has right now. There's a few little word changes, and there's a token raise involved. And it is, I guess I'm asking for that, I want to make a motion that these contracts are approved as, are presented as a package deal and are approved as such.
I'll second.
Well, let's have some discussion here.
Well,
We
there's
have a
discussion.
motion and a second, then we discuss.
Then we discuss.
So, have a motion by Chuck and a second by Tom. Is there any discussion?
Okay, so when you say the first contract where they work together, what's all in that contract? When you said that they're working side by side, what's in that contract?
For this year?
Yeah, for this year. Like,
Yeah,
how,
this year.
how are we
The
doing?
rest of this year.
I'm not going to read it all, but it's,
Well, you can't expect us to vote on something if we don't know what we're voting on.
you want to read it?
I can read bits and pieces of it,
Yeah.
it's not all that long.
Okay.
Just, I'm more or less like looking for like what are the responsibilities, like what's back and forth.
Yep. It's going to require some coordination and working among them, but Mr. Folk is still our superintendent at the end of this year.
While on special assignment, the superintendent shall meet weekly with the interim superintendent and administrators at times, dates, and locations directed by interim superintendent. The purpose of these meetings shall be to exchange information as to all school district projects and proceedings pertinent to the ongoing operations of the district. The interim superintendent shall invite the superintendent to meetings with administration staff, union representatives, community members, outside entities, and vendors to the extent deemed necessary by the interim superintendent to ensure the continuity of relationships with these individuals as they pertain to ongoing projects and services provided for or by the school district. At a minimum, the superintendent shall attend weekly meetings between principals and the interim. While in attendance at these meetings, the superintendent shall not have the authority to direct the meetings or proceedings, but shall be in attendance in a listening and advisory capacity to the extent the interim superintendent solicits his input. The interim superintendent shall provide the superintendent with access to all data available to the interim superintendent for purposes of these meetings. Contingent upon the school board entering into successor contract with the superintendent no later than May 30th, the superintendent shall report to the superintendent's office on a daily basis beginning on June 1st and shall shadow, say that twice, the interim superintendent on all meetings and activities related to the performance of the duties of superintendent of the school district for purposes of transitioning these duties to the superintendent as of July 1st. During this time period, this interim superintendent shall remain solely in charge of the administration of the schools under the direction of the school board and shall be the chief executive officer of the district and ex officio member of the board and shall direct the duties of the superintendent as the interim superintendent deems appropriate. The superintendent shall be invited to attend the regular June 2025 meeting of the school board as an ex officio member of the board and shall, with the interim superintendent, issue a joint superintendent report to the board. The superintendent shall abide by the policies, regulations, rules, and procedures established by the school board and the state of Minnesota. And then the next paragraph says he's allowed to go to conferences and meetings, except as otherwise provided herein. The superintendent's contract covering the period July 1 of 22 through June 30th of 25 shall remain in full force and effect. And it is signed. Any more discussion?
And then in the new contract, you said there was some wording in there that was changed. What is that around?
Well, wording on the grievance period has been shortened to 10 days. And there's a slight change in the insurance. And I think there's a raise involved in there,
What percentage on the raise?
2%.
2? Is that what we gave the teachers? 4. We gave the teachers 4? Averaged. So what is the adjustment with the insurance then?
I don't know on the insurance, I don't know what you're talking.
And the other ones were just more legal things.
I didn't fully understand it either.
It looked the same to me, just for the record.
I think they look the same to me.
I have a question. Was this passed through Jennifer?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll see if I can find it.
And she thinks that's fine?
Yep.
When we left? Is that how she sounded? When we left our visit with her last time, is that how she sounded?
She was fine with it today when I talked to her.
You're not afraid of liabilities. What if some of this hard? I mean,
Majority
you're
rules.
not just,
It's majority rule.
okay, but you're not concerned about liabilities. With the information that you have, you're not concerned about that.
No, I'm not.
Anybody else? No? Nobody else is concerned about liability? Chuck missed the meeting. Does he even know?
Pardon?
Because I've already heard about this in public, because he's already told people in public about this.
You can't say that Chuck told anybody anything.
Yes, I can.
But don't you know that for sure that he did?
Yes, ma'am.
She's saying that you talked out of turn.
When?
I don't know, you're telling people what went on at the closed meeting.
No. No.
What then?
Somebody did to the public, though.
I know, I got that word too. I can't imagine who.
But no, this contract was already discussed between, between, a board member and the public and not the full board. There's some sort of violation going on with that. I'm just saying. I think we are going to have a huge liability on us with the knowledge that we have, and we were warned of that. Chuck was not at that meeting to be warned of it, we were warned of it. So for him to present that, does he have all the information?
Yes, he does. We have spoken to Jennifer on more than one occasion.
And nobody's afraid of a liability.
Why were we not presented this so that we could read over it before the meeting?
Because that's just the way it came down yesterday and today.
On Sunday?
It goes Saturday, yeah. I have been talking to Jennifer, you know.
And the negotiations committee came up with the contract, correct?
Yeah.
When did
That
you
was-
meet? When did the negotiations committee meet?
When did we meet?
When did you meet to make this?
Saturday?
A week ago.
So he said,
Yeah, they've been-
on you say Saturday.
It was on a Saturday, one week ago. And they've been tweaked since.
And I'm gonna say it one more time, nobody's worried about a liability. Nobody's worried about that? Well, I will publicly say that I am concerned about a liability with the information that we all have, bringing Mr. Ludwigson back into our school. I'm very concerned. He came back for 9 days and it didn't work out. It didn't work out. Is he gonna be reprimanded for the things that went on? No, these things didn't happen, did they? I'm tired of that.
I could say something, Tanya, but
Oh,
I won't go any further with this discussion. It's going nowhere. I'm gonna call for a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Roll call. Tanya?
Nope.
Jeremiah?
Yep.
Lori?
Yes.
Linda, yes. Chuck?
Yes.
Lisa? No. Tom?
Yes.
The yeses have it, 5-2. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.